all across America and around the world. This is Veterans Radio. This is Veterans Radio.
Welcome to Veterans Radio. I am Jim Fausone. I'm the officer of the deck today. We've got some great programs for you. I think you'll find very interesting. We always want to remind you can find more about Veterans Radio at its Facebook site or at the web. Veteransradio.org is our new URL, veteransradio.org, where we're on the web 24/7. You can find a lot of our podcasts there as well. We post new ones every Tuesday, so you can get a new story, a new interview, something you didn't know before by going to veteransradio.org. And before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. First up, we want to thank National Veteran Business Development Council, nvbdc.org. It was established to certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses. You'll find out how they can help your business by going to nvbdc.org. We want to thank Legal Help for Veterans. Legal Help for Veterans fights for veterans' disability rights all across the nation. You can reach them at 800-693-4800 or on the web at legalhelpforveterans.com. We want to welcome to Veterans Radio today Commander Bruce A. Wright, retired United States Navy, who's going to talk about chronic lymphatic leukemia, one of those gifts from Agent Orange that just keeps giving. Commander, welcome to Veterans Radio.
Hi, I'm glad to be with you today.
Well, it's good to have you on. A nice kid from Syracuse, New York, found his way to the Naval Academy in Annapolis in 1963. Upon graduation, Uncle Sam said, "Now that I got you, you're going to go over to Vietnam for us." And your first duty assignment was as a gunnery and fire control division officer on the USS Turner Joy, I guess. You did that. I'm surprised you can even hear me anymore.
Well, I have hearing aids to help that today.
Anybody in gunnery's got to have the hearing aids by this point. But but as you got into this, you sort of said, I always really wanted to fly, and you went into the Naval Aviation Training Pipeline, became a naval flight officer. You flew F-4J Phantom IIs, and by the time you retired, after 20-plus years, you had over 2,400 flight hours and 220 combat missions and over 400 carrier landings. Boy, you got to do it all, didn't you?
Yeah, and there's one thing I think I forgot to include. I also am a Top Gun graduate.
Well, you certainly got to get that in light of the movies that have become so popular. Before Top Gun flying was considered a thing, right?
That's right. But I can tell you all the hidden secrets of the Top Gun 1 and 2.
I want to welcome back to Veterans Radio Commander Bruce Wright, retired out of the Navy. We've talked to him about the CLL Society, where he's a patient advisor and educator. But he's got a couple of interesting other life lessons, I think, to pass along. And one of them, Bruce, starts with, when you were in a small high school up in the Syracuse, New York area, you wanted to go to the Naval Academy, but it wasn't a straight shot, was it?
No, it wasn't. I was small at school. I had 38 members of my graduating class, and the big thing to me was playing football and wrestling.
So much for the academics.
I graduated. I ended up getting a working scholarship to what's called a honor military school run by a retired brigadier general, Army, and they had a junior ROTC outfit there. They went through a GI inspection each year, and they had an active duty major running the military part of the organization. And through that honor military school pipeline, I made an application to go to the Naval Academy, as well as with my congressman. And my congressman, I ended up being first alternate, but I ended up getting the honor military appointment, and they selected 10 out of 40 competitors, and I ended up being number 2.
Well, let's step back, because you got out of a small high school. Was the military something you wanted to go into? Was there family kind of history you were following? What was the motivation to say, essentially, I'm taking grade 13, I'm going to honor military school, and kind of maybe focus more on my academics this time around?
No, it's a very good question. My family was not of means at the time, and if I was going to go on to further education, I needed to find some way to help pay for that education. And I learned that there were things like ROTC pathways to get to, be appointed through that, or apply for joining one of the 3 military academies. And so I chose the Navy. We had no one in my previous generation's family that participated in the military. But all of my cousins, my mom was one of 3 sisters, and 5 out of the 6 of us cousins all went in the military. It was the thing to do in the 60s.
Well, and one of the lessons here is, hey, you were driven. I know I need more education, and I don't have the means to get there. What are my other options? And you were willing to explore ROTC or a military academy, and those pathways are available today to people. You just have to be exposed to them, and you might have to do some more work. You might have to go spend some time getting your academics in order, as you did at the Honor Military School. So I think there's a lesson there that ripples through all the way to today, that if you really have that desire, there is a way, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And the cross the T and dot the I, that scholarship I got to go to that one extra year was a working scholarship. And what did I have to do to get the working scholarship? I had to clean the heads in the toilets in the gymnasium every day.
It's a humbling experience sometimes to get where you need to go, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
One other thing that I wanted to make sure we got a chance to talk about, because, again, I think in everybody's life there's certain pearls of wisdom that can be passed on to others. And in reading your story, it really rang for me a little bit about, you served 20 plus years. You retired out as a commander in the Navy, which for our Army guys, that's a big deal. And nevertheless, the VA system, the healthcare system, and the disability system wasn't particularly welcoming to you, and that was quite a journey as well. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. When I made application for disability, it took me 3 years to get my disability. No veteran should have to take 3 years to get a disability rating for serving for their country. And I made a vow at that time that I would work and pay it forward to anyone that had and needed help getting through the VA system, the VBA and the VHA portions. They break down the 2, benefits and then health. And my fee is very simple. I charge you with nothing more than having you contact me when you have received your disability assignment and check, so that we can celebrate together. In other words, I pay it forward, it doesn't cost a cent, and let's just celebrate the fact that it didn't take you 3 years. Yeah. I've had it down to where the vet got his recognition in 3 months. And that's amazing. And that was a guy who was stationed in the DMZ in Korea as a artillery commander. And he, in the DMZ at the time he was stationed there, they used Agent Orange.
Absolutely, yep.
And he came down with LPL, a niche form of lymphoma, and he's alive today, and he has a 100% rating because of it.
And one of the lessons that you went through and are probably telling the guys who you're helping, you just can't give up, can you?
No, sir. Don't give up. just keep going at it. When they turn you down, file a protest and say, I want to give you additional information, or I want to meet with someone, or I want further testing done, and bring forward more information. Go out and see it. I've had one guy, a classmate of mine, who had a very niche problem, a dish, due to his connective tissue having problems, and he had diabetes mellitus. And he had a 3-inch thick folder that he took into the doubting doctor at the VA facility in San Diego, who said, I see no connectivity here, and I'm inclined not to approve your request. And he submitted it along with a private doctor's opinion that this was a cause and effect. And the VA doctor, I admire him, turned around and said, I have learned something from you today, veteran, and I'm going to from now on, approve when someone comes through with that request, because you have proven to me that it really does exist. Thank you.
And I think it becomes very frustrating. So many of the, population-wise, most of our military veterans were enlisted and maybe didn't get as much education as you did or others in the officer rank did. So it can get really frustrating and complicated trying to understand what it is the VA rater or the VA doctor doesn't understand. And I think I read somewhere that, because this is a common problem. We see it with the veterans we represent. They even get to the point where they go, well, you're just lying. You're making this stuff up. And that's not only insulting, it's really frustrating. And I think you went through that process.
Yes, the typical veteran response, mine included, is to turn on the heel and say, screw you, and walk away, because the PTSD kicks in, and you can't let it control you. You need to control it, and don't give up the fight. I had them tell me they have a very unique language, and I pointed out where they made a mistake in their math, and I used a number 2 pencil and lined paper and put it out by month and submitted it and said, you made a mistake. And they said, okay, thank you for pointing out a mistake. It was a grievous error. We have corrected that. You will get the additional recognition, and this closes the subject. And it won't be addressed again. And then they wrote, and I found another error, and I said, it's not closed or not done. Here's the next input. And that was the second input, and I got the same response. Well, this closes it. And I said, no, I found another one. And the veteran service officer I was using, who happened to work inside the VA before she became a VSO, took it up to the supervisor and said, the veteran has found the third mistake that your group has perpetrated upon him, and here's his proof. And the supervisor looked at it, got out a stamp, and said, approved. I'm not even going to give it to the people. Go back and tell the vet he's got it.
Yeah, you really have to be dogged. You have to do it in a way that is convincing and not so argumentative. They say you're a liar or you're cheating the system or something like that. And along the way, one of the things that you had to struggle with is, because of your exposure to Agent Orange, you had another presumptive disease, prostate cancer. Tell us a little bit about going through that process with the VA, both on the benefit side and on the healthcare side.
It's interesting. Let me give you a little bit of anecdotal. There were 3 of us that lived together at the academy for 4 years. All 3 of us went to Vietnam. All 3 of us got prostate cancer. It's 100% proven.
That's why it's so presumptive.
Yeah. And so when I got my first disability assessment and recognition, I was 240% disabled, 100% disabilities, one being prostate cancer. But prostate cancer, you only keep the 100% if you don't treat it, because it will just continue to do its thing. I chose the latter and had it treated what's called brachytherapy, which is with the radiation-doped seed implants. And once you had that done, and they come back and check you 3 years later and say, how you doing? And you don't have the symptoms anymore. And then they say, oh, you're no longer 100%. You're cut back to 20%. So I went down 80% in disability assessment. But then they gave me special monthly compensation because I couldn't have children. I'm in my 60s. Do you think I care?
Right. Thank God I can't. Right. The whole process is a little counterintuitive because VA math doesn't add up quite to 240%. Right. It tops out at 100, and even that math is very funny in its calculation. But it highlights the point that you need to get all of your disabilities rated because things change, and certainly we see this now. Prostate cancer is a good example because if you don't treat it, and everybody should treat it, otherwise it's going to kill you. The rating drops. But that's true with bad knees when you go get a knee replacement, and I think some veterans get frustrated that the number changes and their payment may lower. But again, get everything rated is probably the experience that you've had and told folks about.
Yes, there's one thing the VA will tell you. Well, there's no more than 100% disability. Well, they have unique math, and for those who have everything is less than 100%. That's its own unique calculation. And then you have to get to 95%, and they'll round up to 100%. But if you have a foundational 100% permanent disability, which is what CLL gives you, then they take all the remaining disabilities that you have received disability assessment and assignment for, and they add them up mathematically. And if they total more than 60% above the 100% foundational disability, you get special monthly compensation. So just to give you me as an example, I have the 100% for the CLL, that's the foundation. I have 30% for PTSD, 10% for tinnitus, 20% for residual prostate cancer effects, 20% for pilot's neck. Those total up to be 80% above the 100. And for that, I get SMC, special monthly compensation. I'm a veteran married.
And that gives you disability payment above and beyond the 100% payment. And that's the point that the commander's making about the special monthly compensation. It's above and beyond. Well,
it's approximately $450 to $550 more per month.
And again, Bruce, we appreciate the extra time that you've given us here on Veterans Radio to talk about some of these other things. As I say, there are a couple of good life lessons in there that such as if you want to get a better education, there is a way to do it. Stay on the path. It won't be easy. You might even have to clean heads to get that additional education, but it's worth it in the long run. And similarly, you got to be a little tenacious and stay with it and advocate for yourself through the VA system, just like you have to do when you have a chronic disease. So those are life lessons you certainly have had, and I'm glad that you took some time today to express those to our Veteran Radio listeners.
But let me leave you with this thought. We can cram a lot into a short period of time, but not get it all. So I always leave people with the following. You cannot email me too much, text me too much, or call me too much. If you got a question, get in touch with me. I'll be happy to talk with you. And that includes you, Jim, just as much. Because something will come up.
Appreciate it.
And you know how to get in touch with me.
Folks, we'll end our conversation with Commander Bruce Wright, a real veteran advocate and CLL advocate. Bruce, thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you for sharing.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to Veterans Radio today. I am Jim Fausone. It's been a pleasure to be your host. I'm a veterans disability lawyer at Legal Help for Veterans, and you can reach us at 800-693-4800 or legalhelpforveterans.com on the web. You can follow Veterans Radio on Facebook and listen to its podcasts and internet radio shows by visiting us at veteransradio.org. That's veteransradio.org. And until next time, you are dismissed.
If you have a VA claim denied by the Board of Veterans' Appeals, contact Legal Help for Veterans at 1-800-693-4800. They're experts in handling cases before the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. Their number again, 1-800-693-4800.
We would again want to thank our national sponsors, the National Veterans Business Development Council, nvbdc.org, VA Ann Arbor Health Care System, the Vietnam Veterans of America Charles S. Kettles Chapter, Ann Arbor, Michigan, VFW Graf O'Hara Post 423 in Ann Arbor, and the American Legion Press Corn Post 46, also in Ann Arbor. We appreciate all your support. You can go to veteransradio.net, click on the sponsor level, and continue to support keeping Veterans Radio on the air. And until next time, you are dismissed.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.